Get in, nerds. We are playing Victoria 3. We are still working with this here Han national movement. There's a lot of unemployment in our China areas. Oh, event. A good vintage. The wine produced in Oran has been lauded by sommeliers as outstanding. When people say that something ages like wine, they don't always make the distinction between wine and wine. So let me make that distinction. If you can get your hands on a bottle from Oran, that bottle can be more than just a good time. It can be an investment. Make this an exclusive product for export, extra prestige, or increase production to meet booming demands, extra wine output in Oran. What does the market look like for wine is the core question. Because, yeah, we don't need any more wine in the customs union. Make it an exclusive product for export. Aimable Joffre has died. Well, he is probably the head of the armed forces. So who's heading up the armed forces now? An Orleanist. Excellent. Does that mean I can put the petite bourgeoisie out? I could. I think that's the right call. It's going to get me a few more radicals, but it's going to get me ticking radicals over time. Because once again, you don't get ticking radicals in a hunt. Oh my goodness. What? You guys need to dial it back. Now predicting to drift towards militant.
But why?
Liberia is likely to increase autonomy. Well, I can't do anything about that. So I'm building these paper mills. I'm building power plants. I'm building rail. I'm going to decline for Liberia. And that means I'm going to start improving relations once again. Just trying to get relations up. They've got clout of lobbies. That's what's making their liberty desire really high. But I can't deal with that right now. I'm dealing with a huge situation in China. So what can I build up? What can be... Okay, these buildings can't hire. Because it would be low productivity. Perhaps I change up the production methods of these buildings somewhat to provide additional employment, maybe? Maybe that's what I do. I'm gonna see if that helps a bit. Okay, now you don't want traditional looms. Okay, no, you certainly don't. You want to keep mechanized looms. Alright, fine. See, why is productivity in these areas so low? Is it a qualifications issue? I wonder if it's a qualifications issue. None of these areas have a university. So let's get some of those building. Transport and power continue to be... Oh my goodness, they're at the bottom here. I'm such a goof. Transport and power continue to be expensive in some of these areas, so I think I will increase the size of some of these sectors. Now you're still good. We are increasing power. Here power is fine from a price perspective. We are increasing it. Here power is very expensive, but we're increasing it. And here power is reasonably priced. Okay. So hopefully those universities getting up there will help solve this problem. Now, what are predicted plantation profitabilities? Predicting reduced profitability from silk plantations, so I'm not going to build any more of those. What about livestock ranches? No. Doesn't like that. Will glassworks be more productive? Yeah, glassworks and food industries should be more productive here in Jiangsu. So we'll build some of those. And we'll max out the logging camps. Covert agitation. Revolutionary sympathizers have begun to agitate for anti-government causes in the barracks in Shandong. The state has forsaken every right to order your blood shed, and you must realize this. Even before Shandong Even beyond Shandong, people like you and I are organizing to demand an end to this nightmare. And it starts with you and I, us common soldiers, the ones they trust to do their will. What will happen when they finally see that no one will stand behind them? The armed forces must be loyal to the state above all else. Armed forces become happier, reduce civil war progress. Or those who control the soldiers control the nation. Increase civil war progress. 5% of servicemen pops in Shandong become more radical. Reduced barracks throughput. I'm going to do the first one. It's going to shock all y'all. But that's the way it is. Now, what about here? Textile mills are not predicted to be particularly profitable. Fertilizer plants, on the other hand... Wait, one of these places has a bunch of... Yeah, we got a bunch of sulfur mines. So this is a good place for fertilizer plants. And then Northern Anhui, let's see what else we can make. Food industries are predicted to be very, very profitable. Tooling workshops a little bit. So let's go with some of those. And some food industries. Again, I'm just trying to produce some more jobs in these areas to keep radicalization down. Predicted profitability of these businesses in Nanjing is down the drain. Now we're really low on tax cap here, which is a shame. Let's go ahead and add 10 levels of that. And here it's the same. Curious. I wonder what I'm doing wrong about taxation in these areas. Oh, maybe this is because... turmoil? It's just population. That's curious. Alright, so we are building up these universities now. We should have finished... There's pneumatic tools. Excellent. Now we should have finished the railways here. Or no, they're almost done. Maybe they're further down. Maybe the private sector is working on them. In any case, they are continuing to hire. There are a bunch in construction, so let's go forward a couple of weeks just to see those sort themselves out. Yeah, there we go. 20 weeks on these ones. These are the ones up here? No, those are different. They're in the private sector. Alright, so with this one increasing in size rapidly, hopefully, getting there soon. Alright. Where are we at? We're still a little short. And then in Shandong, we've achieved the necessary level of infrastructure. Alright, so that's very good. We're having a little bit of an infrastructure shortage over here in Northern Anhui still. 23 weeks. I wonder if the private sector builds individual buildings slower than I do. It must. The street-side standoff. Troops in Northern Anhui have reported more and more confrontations with belligerent mobs. Fighting will likely break out soon if nothing else is ordered. There's only two ways to control the situation. Either pull the troops back or tell them to engage. The soldier shuffled nervously where he stood, shifting the weight of his gun back and forth as he stared at the crowd stirring far too close by. He thought he recognized some of those faces, or would have if they weren't twisted in utter loathing of him and his uniform. What was he even doing? Was he standing with the right people here? Order withdrawal from Northern Anhui, increased state penalties from turmoil, 50% chance of increasing or decreasing the civil war progress, or our men are professionals, they can maintain discipline where they are. No increase in turmoil penalties, but 1% mortality per turmoil, and then a larger chance of decreasing civil war progress and a smaller one of increasing it. I'm going to go with the second one. It's available because we have a professional army, and it is what it is. Okay, so, hold on. How do I think I know what I need to do. I think one thing I need to consider is increasing trade capacity, because I think part of the reason standard of living is low in these areas is because there's not sufficient world market access, and they're being kind of choked. of the resources they need. So there's a communist revolt happening in Japan, and a modernist revolt happening in Ceylon. Japan. Big man Japan. Let's, I can afford to have an obligation from Japan. Bringing all the subjects in. Thought Liberia was exempt, but apparently not. Let's just use one army for this. I don't think... no, I'll use two. I'll bring two of my armies from Africa. Just to make sure things are good. Oh my goodness, there's actually a front down here in the islands. But that's okay. I'm not going to need to deal with that much. Alright. So with these universities almost finishing, man, Shandong is down bad. So is Suzhou, actually. We are building up jobs. We are building up government admin. You know what? I think... Nah, government admin will be done really soon. I was like, maybe I should do the trade centers first, but ultimately I don't think I actually need to. Because I think we're going to be doing just fine. You know, Suzhou actually needs more development than the others, I think, because they've got a lot of turmoil. So let's go ahead and throw some paper mills into construction, and we'll build like 5 more railways. I keep thinking the railway situation is about to be solved here, but it keeps not being. So, you know, we're doing our best. And the Han National Movement is going to take all the areas except for Suzhou. So that's kind of the situation we've got going on. The situation we've caused for ourselves, and by we, I of course mean me. All right, universities are getting finished, and universities will always provide some decent employment, and that's nice. And that should provide some additional qualifications in these areas, which will make some of these buildings much more able to function. You know, part of the problem here is that, wow, these sulfur... Maybe I did build up only 10. I thought I built up more levels. Japanese Communist Revolt popping off. Private sector seems to have built just scads of plantations in these areas. Which, you know, simply is what it is. And our forces are mostly involved in the fighting here. Our forces are already being described as in the fight. Marina Kingdom attitude changed. Interesting. Oh, they're now cordial. Wonderful. Wish I could have gotten Japan to transfer me those, to transfer them to me, and then I could have reunited them, but, you know, it is what it is. It's not as though I would have reunited them under my own power. See, the problem is, having such bad construction efficiency in those areas. Maybe I need... Do I have... I don't. I don't have protected speech, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut some consumption taxes, and I'm going to use the authority to throw some suppression decrees on the places that are worst impacted. And that is going to increase construction efficiency just by a little. The procession of provocations. Dissidents in Jiangsu have announced plans for a major march around government offices in the near future. While they profess peaceful intentions and claim everyone will be unarmed, the march will obviously serve as a rallying point for those unhappy with the government. That damn parade and that infernal music. I can't even see them from here, but I can hear them loud and clear. Stop that march by any means necessary. Equal chance of reducing civil war progress, increasing civil war progress, and throwing a bunch of radicals in there, or a tiny number of radicals, or let the procession go on. The fixed number of radicals, 50-50 chance of increased or decreased civil war progress. I'm going to do the second one. And we got reduced civil war progress, which is nice. Alright, armies are involved. This army can go to the southern front. The West Micronesia front. Just to close out that territory, and then all will be well. Kind of, frankly, a little bit silly that Japan was willing to trade an obligation for my help, but, you know, we're good friends. Plus, you know, maybe we'll invite them to our power block one day. What does leverage look like? They're in the Unity League. Oh, they're the leader of their own power block. Well, what a shame. That's right, I'd forgotten that happened. So here's all the railways that the private sector was building. That should be helping out at least some of this. It seems Have I finished all my government buildings? Okay, it seems like the government buildings have finished. So, taxation capacity is still a little light. Let's go ahead and build a few more of those. And again, this will increase... This will provide a little bit more employment. Again, I just want to go slow so that I'm not... completely outrunning my necessary capacity. Because I think that was part of what caused this problem. I built a bunch of taxation capacity in these areas, and then I fired the pops working in those buildings, and that created major headaches. So, I have some electricity shortages in Africa. Kenya, Eastern Mali, Kasai, and Eastern New Guinea. So Kenya, how short are we? Pretty short. We need a few more levels. And a subsidy. Eastern Mali is over here. Somewhere. Eastern Mali, here we go. Local prices, it's at 102. We need one more and a subsidy. Kasai and Eastern New Guinea. One of those is not in Africa. Here's Kasai. Let's see. Local price. Yeah, you're fine. You just need a subsidy on the one that exists. And then Eastern New Guinea. Local prices are fine. They just need to be... They're already subsidized. Well, can't do anything about that. Let me see. Transportation shortage in Jiangsu. What else is new? Transportation shortage in Uganda. That I can deal with. How much more do we need here? We need about 10 times as much, or about twice as much. So let's go ahead and build 10 levels of transportation. Wonderful. So, still a shortage in Jiangsu in terms of transport. Yeah, they're gonna need like 15 levels of railways. So let's go ahead and get those started. It's naturally going to provide more infrastructure anyway. How are we with infrastructure? We're doing okay with infrastructure. Okay, infrastructure is solved in all areas, so that should be fine. Trade capacity is doing okay. Let's build up a little more. This is going to create more jobs, and this is going to provide a little bit more, capacity to flex, and hopefully that'll increase the standard of living. Fort in a sea of anger. Mobs have surrounded an arsenal in northern Anhui, threatening to seize the arms and munitions stored within. While the guards are staving off attacks for now, if no relief is sent, then the arsenal will fall to the insurrectionists. I couldn't sleep at night. The commander refuses to accept terms, and firing continues from both the arsenal and the emplacements that now surround it. After one loud blast, I sprung out of bed and went to my knees to pray as I'd never prayed before. A relief column could escalate tensions a little, but it's necessary. Servicemen pops will become more radical, even chance... Well, it's not even chance, but mathematically it's even decrease or increase. Or the mob could be emboldened by a surrender, but we need to take that risk. Even increase, decrease in officers surrender. If you look at these and you do the math comparing the two of them, it's clear that the chances are the same. I'm going to go with radical officers rather than radical servicemen in this time. Alright. So, hopefully, this will help sort things out. Transportation shortage in Jiangsu, I am working on that. Let's take a look at... Okay, so local prices are back kind of in hand. The Devil's Railroad event in Uganda. Workers on the railway in Uganda are dying in droves due to the harsh malarial conditions and the extreme demands placed upon them. Every mile is marked with gravestones, every track laid in blood. Malady and the scorching heat blister our bodies. We pave the road to hell with our lives. This is too steep a price to pay. Reduce state construction efficiency or full steam ahead. Extra mortality. I'm going to go with extra mortality. That state construction efficiency penalty is brutal. So, standards of living are pretty bad in Shandong and Shuzhou, and I think mostly that's due to enormous unemployment. I think part of what caused this is the private sector, or maybe it was me. Someone in these areas built up a ton of plantations, and now there's no arable land to employ all these pops in. Now, hopefully these fertilizer plants will help deal with the issue. And they can't hire. Why can't you hire? Hire, gosh dang it. There we go. Alright, now they're hiring. Now why do we have reduced throughput? Economy of scale bonuses. Economy of scale penalties. Well, I mean, they're going to be privatized. Someone's going to frickin' buy them. And when that someone buys them, it's going to be great. Netherlands claims Gabon. Well, that's interesting. Duala Uprising. Nitrogen fixation. Wonderful. Let's see if this solves the grain situation forever. It's probably not gonna. So that's going to add an oil input, but it is going to make our explosives factories much more productive. It made them less productive. Liar. Alright, we'll go back to... Hang on. Let's actually wait a couple of weeks and see what becomes of that. No, it's getting even worse. Alright, we'll go back to vacuum evaporation. Perhaps if we increase... Yeah, there we go. If we go to chemical fertilizers in the wheat, rice, and millet farms, then it'll be good to go. Alright, beautiful. Let's try that again. Wait, no, that's the... that's this thing. Oh my gosh, I completely goofed my giblets. Hold on. And then I've still got some better methods I can run on my livestock and my meat packing industry. And then I could reduce labor usage in my in some of my farm types. That should be good. That'll help things out. All right. Sway attempt. Netherlands is calling as their ally. Absolutely. Of course I will assist you, Netherlands. I definitely won't demand control of the state later. We will send the army of Central Africa to assist. And that'll be just fine. Aircraft carriers. Wonderful. Excite bike! Alright, railways are still getting built in China. Our national movement is continuing to gain in strength. I may simply need to deal with them with extreme violence. But I'm hoping I don't require to do that. So, can I provide more iron in this area? It doesn't seem as though I can. See, it's so curious, but maybe actually let's subvene paper a bit. I know, I'm paying a lot in subventions, but I have to manipulate the global economy. You don't understand. I have to manipulate the global economy. It's the only way to keep France profitable. Standard of living is going back up, which is good because it was down pretty low while I was at a high taxation level that I had simply forgotten about. Experiencing some electricity shortages in France now. Oh, right, because I changed up production methods. Well, that was smart. Where are the major offenders? Guyenne. Is Guyenne Guyana? No, Guyenne is down here. Yes, Guyenne, Lorraine. Guyenne and Lorraine are the only ones in the metropole. So, let me see. Where's electricity? Wow, you need a ton more. You need like 1.5 times. You need like 3 times as much. Alright, so. There we go. Nice even 30 levels. And then Lorraine is here. Local price, you need about double. We'll bring up to a nice even 14. 2 arms. And now where else? Auvergne-Moussin. Here we go. Local prices, you need about double. Which should be fine. Nanjing once again. Poitou-Saintonge. Should have done this first. Need to be doubled. And then there are a bunch in Africa that I need to worry about. Let's take a look at the ones in China first. Not that I'm giving Africa a lower priority, which is because I got a revolutionary movement over here. So, Northern Anhui... So, Jiangsu, Nanjing, and Northern Anhui have transportation shortages. Is it because... Northern Anhui... Okay, private sector is building some more of these. Let's build a few ourselves. What does the actual price comparison, the supply-demand comparison look like? What does it look like? There's the Netherlands situation sorted out. Yeah, we're actually going to need like double the amount that we have right now. So we'll just build that up to a nice even 25. So this is Northern Anhui. Nanjing is down here. You want about 3 times as much as you currently got. So we'll build up to a nice even 40 and see if that solves the problem. And then Jiangsu is over here. Local prices, you want about half again as much as you've got. Private sector is mostly covering it. We'll build another 10 levels, and that'll do it. That should do it. Now, electricity. We have shortages in only Nanjing over here. And how much electricity do you need to run? Well, you're all going to have some because you need electricity to run your railways. You need 3 levels. I'm going to throw that in at the top. And then how many levels of railways are we building? We're building like 20. Each of these uses 8 electricity. So 20 times 8 is 160? No, hold on. 20 times 8, yeah, is 160. So you're going to need an additional 3 levels. You're getting an additional 13, so you're going to need like 2 levels to keep electricity at the current price. Nanjing, you're already short on electricity. You're going to get an additional 28 levels, so you're going to need another 5 or so levels of power plants. Suzhou, you're fine. You could probably use 1 more. And then Jiangsu, you're going to get 26 levels, so you're going to need about 5. And I'm throwing those at the top of the queue, just to make sure that they're good to go. Prices look good in Shandong. It's just an employment issue from here. Private sector is building arts academies. You enjoy that. Fertilizer plants should be increasing the profitability of our wheat farms here. But unfortunately, it's not going great. All right, Han Secession movement. See, now I feel silly because I've gone and done all this, and all those are going to get partially built before I can. Well, they might get partially built before I can finish the. Well, no, because they're still maxing out at 98, so I've still got some time. The area is going to be doing much better when I conquer it back the next time. I tell you what. I tell you exactly what. I tell you precisely how what. Of course, the next time we're going to have a much bigger independence movement because we're going to take a lot more of China. Speaking of which, do you and I still have a truce? It seems as though we do, and that will last for another year. So yeah, but I'm progressing very steadily at reducing my infamy, and that's going to help things out. Maybe I'll go a little bit longer this time just to make sure that I don't wind up in a situation where I'm having a long period of allowing my subjects to kind of run rampant due to my high infamy. Alright, they are going to go up by 1 succession progress. Slowly but steadily, they are getting there. I should probably have reduced the strength of the Han national movement, but to be completely honest, I don't know that that's necessarily the right call. Wow, these railways are taking forever to build. That is a bit of a tragedy. Secessionists bomb building. The militant wing of the Han Secession movement have claimed responsibility for an explosion at a government building, announcing that the time for open war is rapidly approaching. Perhaps we cannot decide if there will be a war, perhaps we cannot decide when there will be a war, but perhaps our decisions while trying to exercise control over these issues will determine who will be on our side when the war comes. Every nation is threatened by the Han menace. 10% of Han pops in France become more radical. Change civil war progress by minus 15%. Constantine gets 15% devastation. Or, we cannot let this loathsome act ruin the fragile peace we have. Reduce civil war by 10%. Petite bourgeoisie furious. Constantine gets 15% devastation. I'm going to do the second one, actually. I can live with a salty petite bourgeoisie. What I can't live with is Han pops becoming 10% more radical. That's going to absolutely goof my giblets. Are you going to trend downward yet? Doesn't seem that way. Sad. I've got so much bureaucracy to play with. It's kind of silly. Empty pockets. A series of perceived poor decisions by the Sunni rights movement has led to a notable decrease in its ability to raise money. Numerous wealthy sympathizers have quietly halted their support for the movement in its current form. We don't wish to appear partisan. Always the same refrain. The organizer paced back and forth in his tiny office, fist clenched until it felt as if his knuckles were about to burst through his skin. Occasionally he stole a glance at the unopened envelopes on his desk, all of which he knew would repeat a variation on the same. Partisan. What did it mean? That they cared for something? That they'd chosen to do something beyond count the money in their vaults? He had something important to do, something which would improve society itself. They had a chance to do the same. In that light, how could partisanship possibly be bad? Perhaps it will find an alternative source of funds. 2% of pops in Ile-de-France become more loyalist. Sunni rights movement gets weaker. Or everything dies in the end, some faster than others. Sunni rights movement gets way weaker. I'm going with the second one. I don't particularly feel a need to have a strong Sunni rights movement. Let's take a quick look at the situation in Africa. I need electricity in Windward Coast, Lower Congo, Kasai, and French South Angola, and Timbuktu. Windward Coast is here. How much more do we need? Double. Subsidize. 2 levels. Lower Congo is here. This one just needs to be subsidized. Kasai I can't really deal with. French South Angola is here, this tiny area. Let's go ahead and subsidize. That should be enough. Yeah. And then the transportation shortage in Timbuktu. I don't want to deal with that. Or I want to not forget to deal with that. Oh, there's actually an electricity shortage here as well. So we'll go ahead and build 10 levels and subsidize. And then the transportation shortage is we're going to need about 6 more levels of railways. So we'll build that as well. Now, French Low Countries have a power crunch. That is going to take not too many more levels. Let's go with 10 levels. That should get us where we need to be. And then we'll continue to keep an eye on the situation in China. See, where are we in the episode? Oh my gosh, we're way over the end of the episode. Alright. I'll just go to the end of the year. Just go in a nice, clean, end of the year type situation, and that'll be fine. No, actually, I'll cut it now. We're going to fight this secession movement eventually. For now, though, my nerds, I have had fun. I hope you all have had fun, and I will see you on the other side.